If you're listening to this video, you're a Key Stage 3 student or parent or teacher who's interested in finding out more about how we assess our students in Key Stage 3. My name is Miss Powley and I'm the Deputy Head Teacher. I wanted you to know that your teachers have been working really hard over the last few months to think about how we can support you to become more successful learners. We want all of you to be able to learn and remember the curriculums that we're teaching you, and Mr. Monroe will be explaining to you how we're going to be doing this through our assessment and reporting. I hope you find this video helpful.
This year we've taken a new approach to how we are assessing students' progress at Key Stage 3, and I want to talk you through how that will look for you as a student. First of all, let's talk about how we've assessed how well you've learnt the curriculum this year. We want to understand and to share with you and your parents how well you can remember what you've been taught. And we've split this into two different types of knowledge. One type of knowledge we talk about is declarative knowledge, and we call that knowing what. How well, when you were assessed, could you remember the details of what you'd been taught? And typically, this is the sort of information that will have been set out for you on the knowledge organiser. The second thing we've assessed is what we call procedural knowledge, and we also describe that as knowing how. Do you know how to apply the facts and the ideas that you've been taught? And that might be through practical skills, or it might be through writing an essay, and different subjects will have assessed this in different ways. You may wonder why we've chosen to use words like declarative and procedural. Couldn't we have said something simpler? Well, this is the sort of language that we as professionals use when we talk about your learning. And we think that if we're going to make a difference to that, we're doing the right thing by sharing that language with you so we can give you better feedback on what it is you need to do in order to improve. Let's move on then to how we've described how well you know those things. And you should be familiar from your time in school about how we use the language of reaching fluency in learning. All of your subjects have assessed how fluent you are in both your declarative knowledge, knowing what, and your procedural knowledge, knowing how. And they've used 5 possible words to describe how well you know what you've been taught. They've considered whether your learning might be initial. And as you can see on the screen now, that's when your learning is still new and might feel quite difficult. Is your learning now at the establishing stage? You're getting better, but you're struggling to remember everything. Or is your learning substantial? Now, substantial is our aim for all of our students, that at the end of our teaching, you've all reached a substantial level of knowledge in the subject that you're learning. And if your knowledge is substantial, then we know that you now know enough to be able to go away and practice learning independently. It's only through doing that independent practice that really you can get your level of knowledge to being complete. You really know the stuff well and you can recall it easily, and you're almost always completely accurate. If you've moved beyond that stage, well then you're now fluent. Once you're fluent at a piece of knowledge, then it's something you know and can recall completely automatically. You're always quick and you're always accurate. Therefore, for each of your subjects, we've said whether your learning is currently initial, establishing, substantial, complete and fluent, and we've said that about your declarative knowledge and about your procedural knowledge. Remember, it's our aim that through our teaching you should be able to reach substantial in both of those areas of knowledge. To move beyond that, well, that's down to you, and that's down to you and your independent practice. If you're interested to know a little bit more about what part of each curriculum has been assessed, then if you look further down the assessment certificate, you'll see this information for both declarative knowledge and procedural knowledge for every one of your subjects. Let's turn our attention now to the right-hand side of your certificate, and at the top of those columns it says Attention and Practice. We spoke to you earlier in the year about the 5 routines for excellence in your learning, and they think about your prior knowledge, how much attention you're paying, the amount of time you spend deliberately practicing, how well your work is organised, and the amount of time you're spending on retrieval practice. In this assessment certificate, we've considered your attention and your practice. By attention we mean, are you paying attention in your lessons? Are you paying attention to your teacher and to the quality of your work? And are you paying attention to the quality of work you're doing away from your lessons? When we talk about practice, are you taking the time away from lessons to be practicing what you've been taught? And this might be work that's been set by your teacher, but it might be work that you're doing independently to make sure that you've really learnt the material ready for your assessments. We've then considered, are you doing enough? Are you doing enough practice, and are you paying enough attention? If in that column for you it says enough, then well done. You are doing everything we're asking of you, and you're working successfully independently on your practice, and that means you're going to achieve your very best in your learning. You're doing all the right things to move your learning from substantial to complete or even fluent. Some of you might be doing just enough. And as we said in the expectations presentations earlier this year, if we're honest, just enough isn't enough. Just enough isn't going to get you from having substantial knowledge to complete knowledge of what you've been taught. You may be behaving absolutely fine in your lessons, but actually you're not really paying enough attention to your learning, you're not really doing enough deliberate practice away from school to make sure that you're taking responsibility for your own learning. If your learning is just enough, then between now and when we next send an assessment certificate home, you need to move that to that you're doing enough of all of those things. For some of you, if we and you are honest, you're not paying enough attention and you're not spending enough time deliberately practicing. And this is going to be causing a serious barrier in terms of your success in learning your curriculum. You'll not be able to achieve substantial knowledge by not doing enough in those areas. In this case, this is something that you're going to have to work very carefully on, and perhaps we're going to need to support you to make sure we can move your levels of attention and practice from not enough in the right direction. I understand that this information is new for you and that you might want to ask some questions. If that's the case, then you're more than welcome to come and find me in school or to send me an email, and I'm very happy then to spend some time with you explaining more about how we're assessing how well you're doing in Key Stage 3.